Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting for Wednesday, March 25th. This meeting is being recorded live and is streaming on the District of Summerland YouTube channel. All representations to council, written or verbal, will form part of the public record and be available to the public for viewing electronically or as a written record. Corporate Officer, any late items? We have no late items. I'm going to approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Peak, all in favor? That carries. Consent agenda. Would anybody like to remove anything from the consent agenda? No? We're going to approval of the consent agenda then, please. Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Barkwell, all in favor? And that carries. Let's go straight into my report. So this week's council meeting is being held on a Wednesday rather than the usual Tuesday because of the Silks Water and Climate Forum that was held in Kelowna over the past 2 days. About 300 people attended this conference, including Silks leaders and other First Nations from across BC, local government officials, academia, water purveyors, provincial representatives, forest industry staff, consultants, sponsors, and concerned citizens. Councillor Peak and Barkwell and I were there both days to represent the District of Summerland. Much of this discussion centered on the current drought situation, and there was one informative presentation from a water policy expert from Spain who spoke about how Spanish municipalities were required to have a drought emergency management plan and how the country had shifted its approach from crisis management to proactive planning for water scarcity. The forum served to advance the 250-year responsibility vision of the collaborative leadership table of the region's chiefs and mayors, and it built momentum in several areas of common concern, including water availability, source water protection, and salmon habitat. From March 11th to 13th, I was in Vancouver for the annual leadership forum organized by the Local Government Leadership Academy. This year's forum was largely about governing effectively and staying focused during the final year of the council term. There was an especially good session with a mayor and several regional district chairs whose communities had been severely affected by wildfires or floods, and they discussed the leadership that was required during those emergencies. On March 5th and 19th, Councillor Barkwell and I attended the 2 regular board meetings of the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen. At the meeting on the 19th, the board received the 2024 Regional Growth Strategy Snapshot, which is a set of indicators taken every year to monitor the growth strategy's progress. The snapshot showed that housing starts throughout the South Okanagan increased by 11% over the year, and the value of building permits issued have increased by 94%. But median home prices have decreased 6.8%. Other indicators included things like the average kilograms of daily landfill waste increasing 1.5% per person, and the average daily water consumption decreasing by 36% per person. At the March 5th meeting, the board adopted the RDOS budget and 5-year financial plan. Summerland residents will see a 5.3% increase in this year's RDOS requisition, with the largest increases attributed to general government, the 911 emergency call system, regional trails, and the sterile insect release program. That's my report. I'll ask the Chief Administrative Officer for his. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this community remains in drought level 4, but we continue to monitor snowpack levels and are regularly reporting out to the community through our website, social media, and a newsletter with latest information. On March 31st, the latest snowpack results will be in, at which point we will be able to provide council with a high-level 2026 outlook on our water storage with some options. There are still many variables like spring rains and the kind of summer that we will have, but we intend to provide irrigators and the community with our best information very soon for their planning purposes and so folks have a good idea of what's happening when the irrigation water services are turned on. Our aquatic center and arena are turning 50 years old this year, and we have been profiling opportunities to access and enjoy these facilities free of charge as part of the celebration. This Friday, we have a free public skate from 1:30 to 3 p.m. and a free public swim from 1 p.m. to 2:55 p.m. Additionally, the curling club is open to the public tonight from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. for those that would like to learn more about curling in Summerland and perhaps like to try their hand throwing a stone or two down the ice. Finally, just a reminder that our public works crews will be heading out soon to sweep Summerland's 330 lane kilometers of roads. Our approach is to start in the lower town area and work our way up to higher elevations. Sweeping takes approximately 2 months to complete and is a two-step process as follows. Step one, we have the sand-laden areas that are cleaned with a front broom articulating sweeper, loader, and dump trucks. That's the really heavy areas. And then step two is the remaining sand particles are cleaned with a vacuum sweeper. This is a slower process as it takes several passes to cover the same amount of road area. If you hear or see the sweeper in your neighborhood, please move your vehicle off the street to help us work efficiently. And with that, I conclude my report.
I actually have a question about the street sweeping. So it's common for many people, myself included, to between step one and step two to sweep our driveways. So that the sweeper will pick up the gravel that's been deposited on driveway. And I've always wondered, and some people do it differently, is it better to put that gravel in along the curb, which is where it hasn't been collected yet, or is it better to dump that gravel in the middle of the street? Where is it going to be picked up best? Maybe Joe might be better positioned.
Well, I was going to say with a special guest today with our deputy CAO and director of public works, maybe you want to say something about that, Joe.
Absolutely, good question. And that's a good way of doing it in most years. This year we have it was, I think, 3 or 4 snowfalls, so there's not a lot of gravel on the roads. So there may be areas of town where we only have to do a single sweep, like a single run through, if there's not a lot of gravel. So the sooner you get it out there, the better. But it's best to leave it on the side of the road as opposed to in the middle. In the middle, it could kick up and from a tire or something like that into somebody's glass windshield or that such. So I would suggest just putting it near the edge of the road and we'll collect it at that point. But don't wait for the first pass to do it because there might not be a second pass.
Right. Okay. Good. Good to know. Anyone else? Any questions? Move on to our delegations. We have 3 delegations this afternoon. First up will be the Community Foundation. So Kim and Yuki. If you could just push the button so the red light comes on. There you go.
Just mic check. Yeah. Sure. Well, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have us present to you today. My name is Yuki Ihara, and I'm the Donor Services Manager with the Community Foundation of the South Okanagan-Similkameen. And I'm really pleased to provide an update along with my colleague, Kim English, our Regional Development Manager, on how our foundation has been supporting our region. Today's presentation will be focusing especially on Summerland. But before I get into that, I'll just provide a little bit of background and some context around our Community Foundation. We're part of a larger network, the Community Foundations of Canada, and there are, I think now, over 200 community foundations across the country. The bread and butter and really what community foundations are most well known for are managing endowment funds and grant programs. For our community foundation here, we started in the early 1990s. It was initially called the Penticton and District Community Foundation, but we've always served the region, the whole region, spanning Osoyoos, Naramata, Summerland, and Princeton. It took a few years from the founding endowment funds. We had a handful of funds created by founding donors for the first round of grants to go out. And that first round of grants, I think it totaled just over 2,000, giving to 6 local charities. Fast forward to today, 30 years later, today we now nearly manage 200 funds. And in our history, we've granted over 12 million to our region. And our typical granting amount now annually, probably in the range of 1 million to 2 million. So, over the 30 years, our foundation has we've grown quite a bit in size and scope, but at the heart of our work has always been the guiding idea of giving choices and funding change. And really what we are doing is we're connecting those who want to give back with those who are creating change on the ground. And we do this by working with, donors, local charities, and the broader community. This includes creating endowment funds or non-endowed funds with individuals, local service clubs, community groups, and so on, to direct resources to causes that are meaningful to them. We run grant programs, and we have grassroots initiatives like the Neighborhood Small Grants Program, which Kim will speak to a bit more later in the presentation. If we're looking at Summerland, in 2025, we granted over 100,000, and that is made up, again, by a variety of funds and resources. There's 5 what we call agency funds. Those are endowment funds created by charities with grants coming back to those charities, so that provides ongoing support. 6,000 of that 100,000 plus were foundation bursaries to Summerland students, and 96,000 were grants to Summerland local charities, and there were 6 neighborhood small grant projects funded. Another fund that is included in that 100,000 total grants number is the Summerland Community Fund. So this fund, I would say, is really a prime example of collective giving. A lot of the endowment funds are typically set up by individuals and families, but the community fund, it's really open to anyone. And it's really open to anyone who wants to give back to where they live. And as it's an endowment fund, all the donations contribute to the capital of the fund, which is invested. And from the earnings, we're able to grant annually. And with the Summerland Community Fund, it's able to grant to a wide variety of activities ranging from, say, arts and culture, children and youth, environment, food security, and so on. And you can see the, the list of organizations and charities that have benefited from this fund over the years. It's been, I think, a couple of years since our last update, and so I just wanted to highlight a couple of the funds that were recently established in Summerland. The Agar Lake Camp Society recently created their own endowment fund, providing a vehicle for their donors to give legacy gifts, or just another way to support that organization. We also established the Sandra Nicholson Helping Hand Memorial Bursary. So Sandra Nicholson, she was a longtime teacher and really revered teacher in Summerland, and this memorial fund was created by her family, and it's going to be providing bursaries in perpetuity to students in Summerland. And I also wanted to note the Summerland Credit Union Legacy Fund. That Legacy Fund, it was established a while back, but I wanted to recognize it as they did contribute an incredible $1 million contribution to that legacy fund. And now that credit union, it's since merged and formed the Cascadia Credit Union. But each of the 3 credit unions, they've actually established their own endowment funds as a way to honor their roots and the history of their business. I think the battery died.
Okay, thanks, Yuki. We can't move forward or. There we go. Nice to be here this afternoon. So alongside the long-term funds, we also invest in community leadership. And right now, the Community Foundation is accepting applications for residents or from residents from Summerland who have a great idea to build connections in their neighborhood. Neighborhood Small Grants, pardon me, provides up to $500 for residents to bring neighbors together. Since 2016, over 45 projects have been funded in Summerland. That's hundreds of people getting together to celebrate where they live. These gatherings may be simple, but they build deeper connection, trust, and a sense of belonging, and they can bring whimsy and a lot of smile to the faces. Last year, in conjunction with the Summerland Fall Fair, I'm pointing out kind of the photo in the picture there. Folks may have seen the yarn bombing around town, from Afghan blankets wrapping power poles to dressing zucca melons, and a lot of different crochet objects. And these ladies worked on this project over months and brought it to life kind of temporarily over the Summerland Fall Fair. But when I wandered around, I sure smiled a lot of their cleverness and fun. So just kind of briefly listed some of the projects that we supported last year, from a 60s soiree to right relations events, as I mentioned, the yard bombing, bees and pollinators, and the Trout Creek gathering spot that we've supported over the years, and love to see another application from that neighborhood. So the goals of Neighborhood Small Grants isn't just about events, it's about strengthening the social fabric of a community. These projects reduce isolation, encourage local leadership, and build relationships between neighbors. And over time, these small efforts help create communities that are more connected and resilient. And this is really the main purpose of Y Community Foundation. We see this program as very impactful. It is a low barrier with ripples in every direction. So NSG, Neighborhood Small Grants, is now open. The application closes on April 17th. It's a very simple entry point for people who want to bring their ideas forward. We'd really love to hear from people who have ideas. And we're also, this coming Friday, I will be hosting a free NSG info session at the Summerland Regional Library. It starts at, good look at my poster here, 4:30 until 5:30, but I can definitely stick around a bit longer until all of the questions are answered. It'd be great to see a lot of great summer events throughout the community this summer. And I just want to also bring your attention to our colleague, Kevin Ronigan, the manager of Impact Investments. The foundation, over the past 3 years, we've focused on strengthening food systems and food security, both immediate and for both immediate food access and long-term. This winter, we released the Vital Signs 2025 Spotlight on Food Security. We don't even have a hard copy to show you. We have printed several releases and they're all given out. So the QR code is there. And if you haven't had a chance to look at it, we definitely encourage you to do so. I just want to pull out some of the highlights that are part of the realities of our communities across the South Okanagan-Similkameen. We know that local farmers in the RDOS produce about 9% of the food residents consume, leaving community vulnerable to transportation disruptions. Our research shows that the region could potentially meet up to 70% of our local food needs with different land use decisions and stronger local markets. As we know, affordability remains a major challenge. For a basic healthy diet for a family of 4, the Interior Health Region estimated families spend just under $1,300 a month on food. And we know in Summerland and throughout the region, emergency food programs continue to rise with increasing food bank use across the region. And bringing this closer to Summerland, and again, we know Kevin Ronigan wants to come and speak to this deeper, but I just want to let you know that the foundation, as you may have heard, we've made quite a deep investment over the past few years, specifically around local food production, food access, and long-term systems resilience. That includes a $2 million impact investment in the Summerland Food Hub and Innovation Hub. This is the first investment of its kind in the, across Canada of community foundations, so we're really proud to be leading the way of new best practices. And we continue to support the Summerland Food Bank Seed to Feed program, including just under a $20,000 grant this year to help grow fresh food locally. And last summer, we also granted $10,000 to the Community Services Society here and their greenhouse to expand local food growing capacity and community access. So these investments in Summerland are complemented by a regional food system that we are supporting and deepening the network. This includes this year a $30,000 investment in the Inclusivity Garden in Karamias, our continued support and investment in the Netamkin Food Hub in the Lower Similkameen, and as well a greenhouse in Princeton. And why this matters is that together that these initiatives help ensure that more people have access to fresh food locally today. Our region is better prepared for the future with strong local food production, distribution, and resilience. I feel like I really could have given you a few great images of the food hub here in the garden, and I give you a QR code. But in closing, in many ways, our work at the foundation operates on two timelines. We help grow long-term funds that will build lasting resources, and we support programs and residents that activate community leadership right now. Together, those pieces, resources, and relationships help communities thrive. And as we've seen, with those come together, it can result in nearly over $2 million flowing back into a community like Summerland through fundraisers and grants to support programs and residences. So we want to thank you for your time and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Great work. Council, any questions? No, I think you've covered everything, so you're off the hook. Easy there. So, yeah, appreciate everything you're doing and that the work, the innovation of helping out with the food hub is just is really special. It's really amazing. Thank you. Our second delegation is the Garnet Valley Agritourism Association.
Good afternoon, Mayor Holmes and members of council, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Doug Raftery, 28214 Garnet Valley Road, and I was a petitioner along with the Garnet Valley Agritourism Association, the GVATA, in the recent legal challenge against the proposed Garnet Valley gravel pit. As you know, the Supreme Court of British Columbia ruled decisively in our favor and quashed that permit. We view this as a shared victory with the district. While our association carried out the legal challenge, the mayor, district staff, and council worked hard on the political and administrative fronts to oppose this project, and we really appreciate your help and time and efforts in this. The ruling didn't just protect a neighborhood, Garnet Valley, it protected the safety of residents, prevented major damage to district roads and infrastructure, and avoided the potential loss of significant property tax revenue for you guys. This was a community-wide issue with real consequences for Summerland's health, safety, and economic stability. Over the past 2 years, dozens of GVATA volunteers have put in more than 1,000 hours on this case. We raised funds from residents, Okanagan Crush Pad, Silvera Winery, the Summerland Sportsmen's Association, a GoFundMe campaign, and of course our famous Stomp the Pit fundraiser. And last year, the District of Summerland provided us with a $10,000 grant that allowed us to act at a very critical moment. We like to think that the district got pretty good value for that money you invested with us. Your investment certainly paid off, and the permit was quashed. Had the district been forced to mount this legal challenge directly, the cost to taxpayers, I think, would have been significantly higher. Our legal team delivered an excellent result, and they deserve to be fully compensated. But as you know, legal battles are extremely expensive. It seems like every time the lawyers touch a piece of paper, the bill goes up. To date, the GVATA has raised $60,641. However, our final legal bill comes in at $73,551. That leaves us a shortfall of $13,111. Of course, we continue to fundraise, but we are here today reluctantly and respectfully requesting a grant of $6,555, which represents exactly 1/2 of the remaining outstanding balance. We feel this is a reasonable request. It reflects the shared nature of this victory and the shared benefit to the district. Supporting us now reinforces the message that Summerland stands with residents when public safety, fair process, and community values are on the line. We are fully transparent. Our treasurer, Thomas Tumback, who is supposed to be here with me today, has a detailed accounting, and we have a page up on the screen there that shows you our costs and where we fell short. We still have a few final items to be processed. We would work closely with district staff to ensure complete accountability for any funds that you might grant us in this request. With your support, it would ease the current financial burden on our volunteer-driven organization and ensure that the GVATA can continue to represent the community's interest with integrity and continue promoting agriculture and tourism values that define Garnet Valley and strengthen all of Summerland far into the future. Before I close, I have one additional request. And that is the district notify the GVATA immediately if it receives a referral request from the Ministry of Mines related to this site. A referral request would signal either a reconsideration of the previous permit or a new application. Given the court's ruling, we feel that any renewed attempt to have this project go forth again would face significant obstacles. But we must remain prepared, and we are watching. We don't want to be blindsided again if it does happen in the future. Frankly, we're sick of the whole thing. We would like it to go away, and we certainly hope it does, but that's where we stand at the moment. So thank you again for your time and your consideration. And I'd answer, or I'd try to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. And just for your information, I have requested a meeting with the Minister of Mines.
Oh, excellent.
To talk to him about next steps. I haven't heard back yet, but hopefully we will. Have you heard anything? I understand they have until the end of the month to lodge an appeal. Have you heard anything?
Yes, in fact, I checked just before I came. To about 11:30 this morning, there has been no appeal or no request for an extension of the appeal period. Now, the issue came down, the judgment was granted on the 26th of February, and they have 30 days. So with my math, that means this Friday would be the deadline. We're still waiting from our legal team to hear specifically when that might be. They seem to think it might be a few days afterwards, sometime into next week.
Okay, Council, any questions? Councillor Peak.
Perhaps not so much a question, but I want to congratulate you on the work that you had done. I'm pleased that we were able to put monies towards that. And I think the fact that it was reviewed in the manner it was is advantageous to your group and to the whole municipality, so to us as well. It was a very efficient way to go through, cut through some of the stuff that was going on. And I'm hoping that it will stay in place and we won't have to go through it again. But again, I want to congratulate your group on the work they did.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor. I'm in my mid-70s, and I just spent the last 2 years wasting time on something that should never have gone forward in the first place. I would like to spend the remaining time I have left on this planet enjoying other things other than fighting the ministry in a case that should never have been brought forward. So thank you again. Oh.
I agree with you. Councillor Tran.
I think I know the answer to this, but when a ruling goes in your favor, do you get any costs covered? Does that come with it at all? I assume not, but I'm just...
The Justice Kotobash, I hope I got his name right, was very clear that we did not meet, although the case was thrown out or the permit was quashed on at least 4 different scenarios, any one of which would have thrown it out. He said in his judgment that we did not meet the bar for having costs recouped. And apparently in a judicial review, this is very, very common. Very seldom do you get costs against the government. Now, there is one other proviso. Our legal team is looking into going after the proponents' lawyers, because as you may or may not know, we were ready to take this case to court back in last October. And at the last minute, the landowners, the proponents, demanded standing in the case. And that necessitated a whole series of affidavits and counter affidavits. And once again, every time the lawyer touches a piece of paper, we calculate that raised our cost by about $10,000 and added 3 months to the process. So, Councillor.
Yeah, it's just frustrating that both residents and the district is on the hook for legal bills that the judge found that the province did not make the right decisions when they issued that permit. So it's like we have to pay for that now. So that's kind of frustrating. But I'm talking about the process, not about anybody. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Which is why, unfortunately, we're here today. We have a shortfall, and we're just asking for half, and that, so.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we can give you an answer right now. There's budget and legal considerations for us that council will need to discuss, but we will try to get you a very timely response.
Thank you.
There's things kind of happening behind the scenes as well. So
absolutely.
But I appreciate you coming, and you're a neighbor of the site, right? So I guess my question is, have you noticed has work stopped? I mean, what's the situation out there now?
Actually, the local contractor or mine manager, McIntyre or Michael Borisov, took his excavator out yesterday morning at 10:40. So there is no excavating equipment on the site at the moment. There is still a loader up there, but that belonged to the landowners. So that's where we stand at the moment. There is no other equipment up there.
Well, that's good. Okay, Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a curious question. Now that this has been squashed,
For the moment.
Will the landowner have to rehabilitate that property?
Funny you should ask. We actually have put a request in with the Mines Ministry that the equipment be removed, which it has been, although for different reasons, I believe. And we've asked that area that was excavated be rehabilitated, because it now falls back into, I understand, your jurisdiction. There was an environmental special permit area in that. So they fall back under your jurisdiction as to what has to be done.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Yeah. And we'll certainly keep you posted once I do get that meeting with the minister.
Yep.
I'll let you know what came of that. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next up, we have the RDOS, the Solid Waste Management Plan update.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your time today and for your careful consideration of the draft Solid Waste Management Plan. My name is Alan Fillion. I'm the Managing Director of Development and Infrastructure Services with the RDOS. With me is Lauren Kwan with Tetra Tech, our consultant on the project. And sitting just behind us, we also have Joni Reimer and Venus Atienza, two amazing members of our RDOS team. The Solid Waste Management Plan is a 10-year strategy to reduce waste, improve diversion, and strengthen sustainability of solid waste services for the entire region. Part of our engagement process includes the 2-week roadshow that we're currently on, where we're presenting to all the RDOS member municipalities our First Nation partners and hosting a number of community open houses to seek public input into the plan, including this Friday night at 6 o'clock in Summerland at the community center. Ultimately, our goal is to attain formal support from Summerland when we submit the plan to the province for approval later in the spring, but we'll be asking for that once we've had an opportunity to report back on the engagement process. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren, and she's going to walk us through a PowerPoint, and then we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
So in the interest of time, we'll go through this relatively quickly. So as Director Fillion mentioned, these solid waste management plans are a requirement for regional districts to prepare every 10 years. The previous plan in this region was prepared in 2011. So we're now updating that plan and trying to move the region forward to reduce more waste and manage our materials more effectively. So this plan is meant to provide a fairly detailed overview of how both municipalities and the regional district is going to manage waste, and then to provide a high-level vision for the next 20 to 30 years. So these plans, the process is mandated by the province. There's a 4-step process. We're now in step 4. We have a draft plan that has been shared with you and are now looking for input from both yourselves and community members. These plans cover everything related to municipal solid waste, which is all of the garbage, recycling, organics that people might produce in their homes, in their businesses, or in any activities that they participate in. Typically, they don't cover things like heavy industrial waste, biomedical waste, those types of materials. Within this region, there's about 96,000 tons of waste produced per year. About half of what is produced now is actually recycled or composted. But still, of what's going to the landfill, about 60% could actually be recycled or composted. The District of Summerland is quite far ahead of a number of other member municipalities in that you have a great organics collection program and a bit of a different curbside collection program. So you've taken a lot of the steps that the other municipalities are looking to take, but still there are opportunities for all of us to move forward and to better manage our materials. So locally, of course, you manage both the landfill and your collection services, and there are a number of private facilities that people may take advantage of. I'm sure you know as much about your landfill as we do, and so we won't go through that, but your staff has given us great information on everything and all the initiatives that they're doing there. The solid waste management plan took advantage of a number of residents who participated in a public advisory committee, as well as a technical advisory committee that included your staff. And those groups came up with the sort of vision and values that were going to guide this plan. We have a number of guiding principles that have been developed, and so those form the basis of the plan. We worked towards a number of goals and targets. The big goal that we're working towards is moving from 585 kilograms per person being sent to landfill now to, in 10 years, being down to 450 kilograms per person. So a lot of the initiatives in this plan are looking at that, as well as trying to look at ways that we can better optimize the facilities and infrastructure that exist within the region, and looking at the various services and how we can provide more resilient services in the future. In order to achieve those goals, there are 47 initiatives that were identified by subject matter experts, the public, and the technical advisory committee. Those are in a number of different categories, and we wanted to highlight a few that might be of particular interest to the district. You may know that the regional district has been working to build a composting facility next to the Campbell Mountain landfill. That's still in process and may give more opportunity for both businesses and the district to have an alternative place to take organic materials. That also would potentially allow more types of homes and businesses to be included in curbside collection for organics. There was a strong initiative from our advisory committees to look at construction and demolition materials. So a couple of initiatives related to those. looking at bylaws that might encourage people to deconstruct buildings that were constructed pre-1950s instead of demolishing them, and looking at mandatory waste diversion from construction and demolition sites. Additionally, there was a strong initiative to look at how we manage disaster debris. So the plan includes an initiative to develop a region-wide disaster debris management plan, which would be a collaboration between the region and all member municipalities. And also an initiative to look at all of the facilities and programs that are offered throughout the region and see if there are opportunities to better utilize infrastructure. But perhaps there's opportunities to adjust which landfills are being operated at a time in order to save some taxpayer dollars and share more of those resources between communities. Overall, the regional district is looking to spend around $700,000 over the 10-year plan, and there's about 1 additional staff member. In terms of the district spending, there would be some staff time depending on what initiatives you chose to adopt, as well as some contribution to the regional initiatives. And a great initiative by your staff in particular was to include this provision, which allows both municipalities or the regional district to borrow up to $8 million in order to fund equipment for managing essential services. So things like operating your landfill or operating curbside collection programs. Right now, it's very difficult if you lost a service provider to then take that on yourselves, because there's potentially quite a lot of equipment that you have to either lease or purchase. And so this was an initiative particularly from the municipalities to make sure that this provision is part of the plan, and then would allow some borrowing in order to protect those essential services. So ultimately, we're here to provide an opportunity for yourselves to provide comments or questions to this plan. The regional district is taking comments and questions from municipalities, the public, and other stakeholders for the next couple of weeks, and then is intending to submit the plan to the Ministry of Environment later in the spring. So we would be happy to take questions or comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, questions? Councillor Trainer.
Thanks for the presentation. I think this is all really interesting, and I just was looking at your section on like affecting the community and educational materials, and what I've noticed in Summerland is there's still like a lot of confusion around what can be recycled, what can go in the blue bin, what needs to be taken up to our recycling center. And then in each community that's different. I know in the Central Okanagan, I think it is, they've just started that pink box program where you can now, I think, recycle plastics, like chip bags and stuff. And so I had people asking me why we're not doing that in our region. And I have to explain to them we have a different waste collector. And so there's still like a lot of, different rules for recycling around the province and waste. So I think that that's one of the big problems, and that's kind of a province-wide thing, but I'm not sure what exactly can be done here. But I think over time, as we refine these kinds of plans, both within our municipality and in the regional district, that education has to be key, and trying to make it the same across the board for everybody so that there's less confusion. Because when people get confused, they just throw it in the garbage. So that was one thing. And then so I think education is really important to continue doing that, as much outreach as possible. And then also, I think Cam Bond has done this before, but going to the schools and starting there, because when you start with kids, they then go home and take the messages to their parents about recycling at home. And I think getting the next generation is super duper important. So yeah, that would be my, is really, making sure that education is a huge component in this plan to get more buy-in.
Thank you. Councillor Barkle.
Thank you. Is there any opportunity for the RDOS excuse me, to advocate and lobby for the changes in our packaging. It starts there. I get so much stuff, box in a box from Amazon and styrofoam and, styrofoam I could take up to the landfill myself, but it'd be easier to put some cardboard or something in the blue box. So, there has to be pressure on the other levels of government to get these things changed. I won't go into all the examples, but just in principle, how can we lobby for that?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. Ultimately, we're very lucky in British Columbia because we have the extended producer responsibility system. And part of that system, so that's a system where the actual producers of this packaging material pay into a fund, and that fund is what then gives you the incentives that pays for parts of your recycling system. So part of the philosophy behind that system is that though having those producers pay that money will encourage them to change how they're designing their packaging. I think it's a little bit challenging because the costs of them paying to recycle is so much less than the cost of changing their manufacturing system. But specifically within the plan discusses the regional district and municipalities taking part in advocacy towards the provincial government to adjust some of those policies to include more materials in that extended producer responsibility network the province has talked about, including things like textiles and mattresses in the past. So trying to encourage the province to continue in that direction so that there's more opportunities to get some of that money back.
Follow-up?
Thank you. Does that extended, producer responsibility program include food packaging?
Yes, so everything that you have going into your curbside recycling now, that's included in the packaging and printed paper extended producer responsibility program now. So there's a mandate for all of those producers to pay into this organization called Recycle BC that then is the one that is responsible for making sure that all that material gets collected and recycled.
A couple of years ago, when we brought our organics facility on stream, we brought a motion forward to SILGA and UBCM that was passed calling on the banning of plastic stickers for vegetables because, well, lots of reasons why why we don't want them in our organics. And so I'm just wondering, would your advocacy include that? And if not, could it?
Thank you for the question. Currently, the plan doesn't identify specifically any advocacy related to plastic stickers on fruit, but that certainly could be added if that's something that the district is particularly interested in.
I think, it's been a problem for us. I mean, we're kind of, I think we're the first in the region to have an organics facility, so we've been at it for a few years, and it's one of the things that was identified very early on. That was a problem for us, and so I think once Campbell Martin comes on stream, wherever if you can avoid that as a future problem, then by banning these things, and because they're completely unnecessary, they could make them. They could either stamp them or make them out of paper or whatever, right? Councillor Turner.
Yeah, I think advocacy has to be a portion of this as well. Like Mayor Holmes said, Glad garbage bags that they sell at like London Drugs and Superstore, the ones that are supposed to be for composting, they say accepted by municipal landfills, and they're not, because they're plastic. So it's like people are buying those and putting their veggies in it and putting it in the green bin, and then it contaminates. So it's like stuff like that that's just really frustrating, because all of our work, all your work, all our work just gets, tossed out when we have companies like Glad writing that you can use those bags, and that's not true. So same with the stickers. So I think that there's a big role to play in making sure that these things get addressed.
Okay, anyone else? I'm not sure if you're in a great turnout Friday at 6 o'clock. I'm not sure if that was the best time to hold a session like that, but I'll be there. But yeah, the timing isn't ideal.
Yeah, we appreciate to see you there. We recognize Friday night might be challenging, although we did have good numbers last Friday evening. But we'll see. We kind of discussed it a bit with staff, and we'll see if if there's no turnout at all or really low turnout, we can obviously reconsider if we have to add another one next week. We were just trying to. Lauren's not local, and we have a very busy 2-week calendar, and we couldn't avoid Friday night. So, but we can certainly reconsider that if it's an issue.
Okay, well, we'll find out. So, I'm up for a while Friday night. Okay, no other questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Moving on to public comment opportunity. Any members of the public like to make a comment on any of our business items? Don't see any, so we'll move on to our business items. The UBCM Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, and go to our fire chief. Oh yeah, there you are.
Thank you, Mayor Holmes. Staff is seeking council's approval for the District of Summerland to participate in a joint regional grant application to the UBCM's Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, the Emergency Support Services Equipment and Training Stream, with the RD West, Penticton, Princeton, Oliver, Osoyoos, Upper Similkameen Indian Band, Penticton Indian Band, Osoyoos Indian Band, and Karamias. A key component of this initiative involves joint training in reception center operations and cultural safety and humility. Collaboration training exercises will bring together 6 ESS teams and 3 First Nation communities. Volunteers will also receive a variety of training to enhance their readiness and ability to assist effectively during emergency events. There are no financial implications for the district as the management of the grant is coordinated through the RDOS, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Peak.
Thank you. I think this is really important. I think it's an ongoing management that we need to continue. When we look at who we're getting to train for these, does it continually seem to be the older folks that are training for these kind of centers?
Thank you, Councillor, through the chair. I think it's a mix of both. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move the staff recommendation.
Okay, and do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Patton. Any discussion? That's to approve the grant application. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries. Moving on to our capital projects update, and I'll ask the CAO to introduce.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, just a brief introduction, as I always do on these, is just to say that now we're reporting on the Victoria Road and water main upgrades and the primary clarifier, and things are going well, both those projects, as you hear about shortly. We like to have these updates with council to provide any midstream changes that might be taking place or things we've discovered to operate as much as possible as an atmosphere of no surprises, recognizing, of course, that we can never promise there won't ever be any surprises, even with our best efforts. Sometimes we encounter things that we didn't expect, but don't think we're hearing about any of those today. And so maybe with that, I'll turn it over to our Deputy CAO to talk about the first one.
Thank you, Graham, through the mayor. Just a quick update on the Victoria project. As anyone who's driven down that road now knows, we've torn up sort of the southernmost part of Victoria Road right now, and in tearing that up, we've installed water services to each of the homes on both sides of the road along that stretch. to the appropriate water main that we'll be using moving forward along there. So most of the deep work has been done along there. The catch basins have been altered so that the new storm drainage will work. And we're actually pouring the curbs for the new path, the new multi-use pathway today, hopefully be done this week with the pouring of that. We've also been working on the Dale Meadows portion of this project. We sort of pivoted to do that part of the project right off the get-go. So the 300 millimeter water main has been installed along that section of Dale Meadows where it's the road's currently closed. We're going to be doing, I think there's 7 or 8 different water main tie-ins that have to happen along that small stretch of road. So there'll be multiple small closures happening over the next little while, water shutoffs happening over the next little while. But everybody will have ample notice when those do occur. The water main will be tested probably starting the end of this week. So then there's about a week time period before we can start doing that. And then following that, we'll be moving forward to the northern portion of Victoria Road. So we'll be pulverizing that likely a week or 2 after Easter. So the rest of the road that is part of this project will be pulverized at that point, and we'll shift gears down towards the oval boat. So happy to take any questions or comments that may come up.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Peak.
Left my mic on. I want to comment on the fact that even with the Jersey barriers up in the center, which is an unusual need, traffic is still traveling quite well. And I notice it gets well packed down and moved around. So on the weekends, it's really very easy to get through. I'm pleased to see that the work towards Dale Meadows is going apace and perhaps in advance of getting other things done, so that when we're finished, we'll maybe be finished everything. It won't be hanging off with one more part to get done. So I'm really pleased to see the progress made as quickly as it has. Thank you.
Good. Anyone else? No? We'll move on to the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just gonna pull up my notes here. So primary clarifier update. Today is a big day for this project. We are tying the primary clarifier 2, which is the new clarifier, into the treatment process. So actually, even right now, that clarifier is filling. And so that's really exciting down there. We have a pretty large crew down there today, and I was down there this morning, 20 to 25 workers down there. It's a complicated tie-in with multiple tie-in points, but it's going very well, I'm told today. About an hour ago, I had an update. After this tie-in period, we're actually draining the original clarifier, filling up the new clarifier. We'll be doing some backfilling work, finishing up some electrical, but we do expect to see commissioning starting second week of April, which really takes us to the sort of the final phase of the project. That'll take a few weeks, and then the construction is effectively complete. After that, we have all the project closeout documentation, get everyone paid, O&M manuals, drawings, record drawings, that sort of thing. So we do have a few, 3 or 4 months left after commissioning to still work on the project and get things fully completed. But things are looking really good at this point, and it is going to be used after today. So that's the update there.
Yeah, that's a great milestone. Yeah. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Worship. So, Jeremy, there is that huge stockpile of material that was excavated. So can you tell me what, because you're not going to be putting any of, or not much of that back. I see that you're moving a little bit of it. What's happening with that stockpile? Is it just going to remain?
Thank you, Councillor. We have had some people reach out asking us what we're going to do with that material. Right now, so we will take some of it to finish our backfill. So we are going to utilize some of it, but there will be a large stockpile there. There was a stockpile of material there
from the original build of the wastewater treatment plant. That pile's been there for a long time, so we've sort of added to that. There are some environmental regulations around material from a wastewater site like that, so they would need to have some testing, et cetera. We have no plans in the utility department to utilize that material. It's going to sit there on site. Other departments may have need of that, or could be disposed of in other ways. Yeah, but no plans currently.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else? I was just wondering, so once both clarifiers are back on stream, so once you've done the work you'd need on the original one, how will that system work? Will you have a primary clarifier and a secondary primary clarifier, or which one will be the main one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just like you said, we're going to take the original primary clarifier, that's PC1, out of service. It needs a bunch of maintenance. Hasn't been maintained since it was originally installed, so the mechanism will need to be repaired or replaced. We'll see what condition it is in. It might need some concrete work. I expect it will be out of service for a couple of years at least, while we assess and do that work. The wastewater budget is thin, so we will take our time doing that. We can run on one clarifier, as we have been doing, but if that clarifier then was to fail, we have the other one to switch to. So the effort for the short term will be to repair that original clarifier, and then we can decide whether or not we want to run things in parallel or run one and then switch back and forth for maintenance. So it gives us that operational flexibility.
See you.
And maybe just for the abundant clarity and stating the obvious for those that might be watching on YouTube at some point, hasn't been maintained since it was originally created because we didn't have the redundancy of another one in order to drain it and maintain it, not because we don't focus on maintenance, which of course we do all the time down there.
Thank you for the clarification on the clarifier. Have to use that at least once a month. Okay. All right, no further questions. Any further projects? Just the two we've got, correct? Yeah, okay. So if someone wants to bring that forward to receive for information, Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Peak, all in favor? And that carries. And moving on to the late grant and aid request, Director of Finance, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as part of the 2026 budget process, Council reviewed 22 grant and aid applications that totaled $489,715 in funding requests. Council approved the 2026 grant and aid budget of $341,000. And during the review process, $336,630 in grant and aid funding was committed to applicants. So that leaves $4,370 of unallocated grant and aid funding for late applications, which are historically submitted by sports teams once it has been determined whether or not they make provincials. So to date, we have received one such application from the Summerland Secondary School Girls Curling Club, who are requesting the full $500 allotment, as is noted in our grant and aid policy. Now, Mr. Graham Lyle is here today to speak to this grant and aid application prior to council making any decisions. So if council doesn't have any questions for me, I will have Mr. Lyle come up to the stand and present his application.
Okay.
Thank you. Once again, Graham Lyle from 126 Jewel Place. This winter, I had the pleasure of coaching the junior girls curling team. It's out of the club here in town, but also as part of the secondary school. I've been involved in the junior club here in town for a number of years and been coaching these girls recreationally. And this year they wanted to make a commitment to do some more competitive curling, and they decided to try to compete for the BC Winter Games and attend the High School Valley Championships. So we practiced all winter. We were able to get lots of available ice time from our club, who was very generous. And They're all geared up to compete in the zone qualifier in Salmon Arm for the BC Winter Games. They were fortunate enough to go 3-0 and earn a berth to the games, which were in Trail in late February. And the following weekend, the same girls competed in the High School Valley Championships. Expectations lower for the high school championships because they're competing against the BC Winter Games is U16, and the high school is you're obviously dealing with kids that are grade 11 and 12. And our team consists of 3 grade 9s and 1 grade 8 girl. But they curled well, played well enough to get into the top 4 playoff round. They won the semis against the reigning provincial silver medalists and actually won the final against Mount Boucherie Secondary to win the Valley Championships and qualify for the provincials in Chilliwack in mid-February, which is an incredible accomplishment. And so what had started or sort of began as a couple weekend commitment evolved into an entire back half of February spent in a curling club competing against some of the best curlers, young curlers in the province. The high school provincials were first. They finished 3-1 in pool play, qualified for the semifinal, won a really close semifinal game, which qualified them for the provincial final, but lost that a tight game to Chilliwack Secondary. And considering it was 3 grade 9 girls and 1 grade 8 girl, second in the province was a pretty spectacular result, and we were very proud. They were home for 2 days and then boarded a bus to the Winter Games in Trail. Being part of the Winter Games was an amazing experience. The girls stayed together with all the athletes, eating together, competing together, doing other activities. It was like a little mini Olympic village. So they're always going to have that memory of competing in the games. They represented Summerland very well. They finished 2-1 in the round robin, but lost a tiebreaker and didn't qualify for the medal round in that event. The girls were a pleasure to coach. They were great ambassadors of our curling club and our community. They wore their Summerland branded hoodies as uniforms. They're actually going to be special guests tonight at the open house for the curling club that Mr. Stapp mentioned earlier. And they're working to promote youth curling in Summerland and curling in general. So with somewhat unexpected success this year, a lot of additional costs came up that were not anticipated. The journey consisted of 13 nights in either a hotel, Airbnb, or Winter Games accommodation. So there's a lot of eating on the road, additional costs for uniforms, registration. The girls embarked on a fairly significant fundraising campaign once they qualified for these events. They got sponsored. They organized a Super Bowl square board, ran a bottle drive. The Summerland Curling Club was very generous with sponsorship, and some of the curling club members stepped up with sizable donations, which was really generous and really appreciated. It was a real nice sense of community as part of that club. But that being said, the cost for the season exceeded $5,900, and so today we're applying for $500 to offset some of those costs. The girls were great representatives of the community. They acted with sportsmanship and integrity both on and off the ice, and it was a real great experience. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak today.
Yeah, thank you. A great story. Yeah. Council, any questions? Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No question. I'd just like to move the staff recommendation.
Okay, second, please. Councillor Patton, any discussion? No, I think we're all behind this, so I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed? Thanks very much. Thanks for coming forward and sharing the story. Yeah. Budget timeline, Director of Finance.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. So the purpose of the report is to provide council with the proposed 2027 budget timeline. So as noted in the report, the 2026 municipal election and subsequent governance and strategic planning sessions have pushed out our normal budget timeline by about a month when we compare it to non-election years. This means that our utility budgets are proposed to be reviewed in late November now, and general fund budgets in late January. We will require a special meeting in December to ensure any utility bylaw amendments are effective as of January 1st, 2027. But in all, there are 8 proposed meetings to specifically discuss budgets, rates, and council priorities, with the first meeting scheduled for November 23rd. Now, in addition to those budget meetings, there are 2 open houses scheduled. A virtual public open house will be held on December 2nd to introduce utility budgets and any potential rate increases for the coming year. And then the more formal general fund open house is scheduled for February 11th, which will be held at the Arena Banquet Room, again, at our normal 5 to 7 p.m. And all departments will be present to answer any questions that the public may have. So my hope is to have the 5-year financial plan bylaw adopted by council on March 23rd of 2027, and the 2027 tax rates bylaw to be adopted by May 4th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councilor Nelson?
Move the staff recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Second, Councilor Patton. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries. You're off the hook easy there.
Until I come back later.
That's right. Exactly, yeah. Okay, Living Memorial Park interpretive sign. Director of Community Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. As per Council's request to investigate and install an interpretive sign at the entrance of Living Memorial Park, recognizing the park's historical past and highlighting the name of the park complex, staff have consulted with historian David Gregory, the Summerland Museum and Archives, and the Summerland Legion to gather content and photographs to include in the sign. We have 3 design options for Council's review and input as shown in attachment 1 of the Council report. The sign text is a little hard to read on the images, but is outlined in the Council report for your reference. Final designs need to be confirmed this Friday and will be sent to production. A commercial grade sign frame is currently being produced and will be powder coated in black, and there's an example in the package as well. Sign dimension will be 42 inches by 30 inches. It's intended to be installed the week of April 13th, which is just prior to Field 96 opening day and the celebration on April 18th. The sign installation location is in the green space in front of the main parking lot as you face Field 96. Project funding is currently budgeted to come from the Capital Works Reserve, and we're still waiting on whether Veterans Affairs will be making a funding contribution to the project. The working group prefers option 1 with the larger standout photograph, and it was recommended if we go with this option 1, which is up on the screen right now, that the District of Summerland logo be switched to all white. That said, Council has the final say on the layout and content, so I turn it back to you for comments and final direction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Councilor Peak?
I'm pleased that the planning that went into this, I think the one that was chosen is a really good option. I think it's nice and clear, and it really highlights what it looked like when they first set it up. So I think that's great. And if we get some money from veterans, that's even better.
Do you want to bring that forward as a? I will. Okay, staff recommendation, option 1, the one on the screen. Second, Councilor Malfin. Any discussion? I'll call the question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I can't read it because it's blurry on my screen.
You've got
It's in your report.
It's in your report.
No, I know, but it's blurry in here. Anyway, my point is, I really like the first one. I just wanted to make sure that it's been proofread really closely. I assume it has been, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen signs with mistakes on them before, so I just, okay. Okay, thanks. Anyways, it looks really good. So, yeah, nice work. Yeah, exactly.
Councilor Barkle?
I mean, I can go along with any of them, but I like the design number 1 best, but I like the blue in the number 2 because that kind of matches our road signs. But anyhow, the important question was, I didn't catch what you said about the District of Summerland logo and the whiteness, or is it going to be different than what's on this image?
Through the mayor, Councillor Barkwell. Yeah, so as you can see, it's in a white box right now, and our communications staff person recommended that it just be all white. So it would be similar to, if you look at this one that's all white on the brown, we would do the same white logo. Can you see on the screen up here?
Oh, I see, change it to white.
So it would just be an all white. And we can change the color to blue if you'd prefer the background to be blue. So.
I like green.
Whatever. Green.
Oh.
It's just the green grass.
Well, I'll call the question on what we've got right here, option one, and if none of us like it, all in favor? None opposed, that carries.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we at now? I think we'll just keep going and have the break before we go into close. So license of occupation for the Rotary Club Sunday Market. Corporate officer, please.
Thank you, Mayor Holmes. So the Rotary Club of Summerland would like to continue holding the Summerland Sunday Market seasonally along Main Street on Sundays. The market would start on the second to last Sunday in June and run until the second Sunday in October, and would be open from the public from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The proposed license of occupation allows for the license to be renewed for the 2027 and 2028 market season, so it wouldn't have to come back until then. And Veterans Memorial Square has been removed from the market footprint. And as the Rotary Club of Summerland is a nonprofit organization, the annual fee of $1 is proposed, which is consistent with the fee we've charged in previous years. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Van Elfen?
I'll move staff recommendation.
Okay, I have a seconder, please. Councillor Patton. Any discussion? Don't see any. I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed, that carries. Couple of bylaws for adoption, building bylaw amendment for adoption, so we'll bring that forward. Councillor Patton, Councillor Traynor, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. And the election and assent voting amendment bylaw. Councillor Patton, Councillor Barkwell, all in favor? That carries. No items to remove from consent, so we just need a resolution to close the meeting to the public pursuant to sections 91C, E, G, and I of the Community Charter. Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Barkwell, all in favor, and that carries. So we'll take a 220, back at 220.